Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with a very much so anticipated release from Mattel for the Jurassic World line. We finally here in the United States have the super colossal Spinosaurus. It has actually gone up for sale on Walmart.com. Seems like it was taken forever. Many places like the United Kingdom and stuff had this long ago, including Canada, but we just now finally got it here, and it's actually on sale for like $50, so if you do want it, I would grab it as soon as possible. But the packaging here looks pretty cool. The Spinosaurus itself looks beyond awesome. I cannot wait to see this one out of the packaging. Maybe a future repaint. We'll have to wait and see. I'll have to grab another one, of course, but that sculpt is honestly gorgeous there on the head. And I actually totally forgot we were getting minis with this, and it's actually pretty neat that the minis that are included with this, I think, are both the minis that were in the older 93 Classic sets. So if you happen to have missed those, you get some pretty cool mini figures included in this. As far as the packaging goes, again, basically is like the Spino, and as you move back, the body of the Spino turns into the packaging, which is kind of fun. And then if you turn it around and take a look at the back, obviously, again, first of all, it's not centered very well, but you can see a shot of the Spinosaurus, a few different images, as well as a kind of like a measurement over here on the side, and again, those little minis down there. So let's go ahead, pop this open, and check it out. So there is the Spinosaurus as if it had exploded, and you can now see the body parts just pretty much laying everywhere. Interesting to see the Spino without a sail back there. It's so strange. People could maybe make customs out of this, you know, create yourself like a Baryonyx or something, or, you know, a Suchomimus of some similar species to like a Spino, because you don't have to have the sail on, although you would have to sculpt stuff out there for the back. But regardless, again, as per usual, I take a look at these unassembled and then I assemble it afterward. It's just usually easier when it comes to reviewing something so large, so we're going to start bringing the pieces in and checking them out. So starting here in the head sculpt of the Spinosaurus, it looks really, really nice. Obviously, this Spinosaurus is much more closely resembling the Jurassic Park 3 version as opposed to the newer Rebirth version. And I think that's, you know, a welcome aspect to this figure when it comes to many, because a lot of people are definitely a much bigger fan of the JP3 style Spino, although I actually really love the Rebirth version. But when you get nice and close, you can see the skin texture is absolutely gorgeous, if my camera focuses correctly on it. You've got the nostrils right there, really, really vibrant skin texture as you move throughout the face. The majority of the head here is a reddish tone, and then you have a light gray that moves here through the lower jaw and also kind of runs up here into the face, kind of Jurassic Park 3-ish as far as that goes. You also have a really nicely painted eye. It's a green with almost a slit-like pupil and has a really beautiful gloss coat on it. Again, pretty reminiscent to the JP3 Spino. As you move over the top, you can see the skin texture is gorgeous. Definitely really nicely done. It is definitely a bit more vibrant in the head than what you see as you move back into the body. Like, you can see a clear decline in just how vibrant it is moving from the head back into the neck, but it still looks pretty good as you move down into the body. The jaw obviously articulates. Does the upper jaw as well? Yes, it does. So both the upper and lower jaw articulate on the Spino, and we do have those newer, softer teeth, so they definitely have a much sharper look to them, which is a huge plus for this as well. Same deal with the teeth on the lower jaw. They are created in a yellowish sort of a tone. Then we've got a nice pink here for the inside of the mouth. The tongue is sculpted beautifully, very nicely textured. As you move here to the upper side, again, the details a little more muted up here, but we also, again, have that nice pinkish tone with the gloss coat. And obviously, you can basically stick your hand down into the throat, if you had smaller hands, I guess. But the throat is large enough to swallow dinos, which is something that you usually get to do with the super colossals. The mouth also closes pretty nicely. As you move back here into the neck, you can see the skin texture. Again, as I said, is a little less vibrant, but still looks pretty good. Definitely gets a little nicer as you move down here into the side of the neck. We have that gray kind of leading back here and just sort of patterning somewhat like a Jurassic Park 3 Spino, but at the same time a little bit different. You also have the light gray here moving down along the underside of the neck and throat of the dinosaur. We can swivel the neck, which is pretty standard stuff for the super colossal figures. As you move back, that light tone does disappear as you lead down into the chest, unfortunately. You also have that kind of trap door for you to retrieve whatever figures you put there into the stomach of the Spinosaurus. As you move back into the body, again, the skin texture is pretty much just as vibrant as we've seen the entire way through. Like, it looks really good, definitely pops, very highly detailed, nice variation to the sizes of scales. You've got skin wrinkles and folds and stuff as you move throughout. You see that light light gray lead up here toward the sail, but obviously the sail currently is not on the Spinosaurus. And then you move back, and obviously we also have the area here for the leg, but that's not connected at this point in time, but will be soon. Articulation in the arm. You can go forward, not really back too far. It kind of gets stuck right there, but you can definitely go forward pretty decently. And you have a swivel for the wrist, which I saw. Moving down through the arms, we've got nice musculature in the arms. A lack of focus from my camera. Nice skin texture and scale detail as you lead down. You've got some scoots moving down the fingers, and the claws are sculpted pretty nicely, but sadly unpainted. However, they do have a gloss coat, so they at least still look okay, I guess. They just would have looked a lot better if they actually had paintwork. And obviously the opposing side looks really nice over here as well. And then if we actually throw the sail on, I guess we technically could have just put it on from the start. So there we go, we snap that sail on there, and you can now see when it comes to the sail, you've got that reddish tone leading down along the back and moving up and over the top of the sail. You have that light gray here that moves through the lower part of the sail with some of the brown body color here kind of meshing there and showing up in between as those colors disappear as you lead out there toward the tail. It looks pretty cool. Again, if it were actually perfectly created in the way of the Jurassic Park 3 Spino, that gray would have come down here and then led down into this area, but it is what it is. It still looks pretty cool. Definitely a decent looking color scheme. And then we as well have the legs here, and you can see the skin texture looks really nice for the thigh area. We could definitely see the defined musculature as well. You move down, you've got the kneecap right there, which is definitely nicely shown off in the sculpt, a nice big bulging calf muscle. And then you move down into the foot sculpt. The foot sculpt also looks pretty good. You've got some scoots down the toes, much smaller scales here along the sides of the toes. The claws are sculpted really nicely. You can see as the light kind of hits it there and they shine, you can see the actual fine detail of those claws. They are a black tone, but it's a separate piece that kind of comes in from the bottom, but that gloss coat helps to make them shine quite nicely. Dew claws are sculpted, of course, but unpainted. And do we have a swivel in the ankle? Yes, we do. For some reason, it only goes in. It doesn't come out. So that's weird. It only goes in toward the other leg. But obviously, once this is assembled, the leg will be able to go forward and back as well, like usual when it comes to the Mattel Super Colossals. And then you also have the other leg. I love the fact that the feet aren't oversized even on this Spino either. So definitely a huge plus for any of the newer Super Colossals. And then we have the tail. And as you can see, there is no coloration on the tail at all, unfortunately. But again, really nice looking skin texture and scale detail as you lead the entire way out. And you also have a little area here with a swivel toward the end of the tail. Nice curvatures for the tail though. So definitely a nice looking sculpt, just not much in the way of paintwork. And then we also have these little guys, but we've obviously reviewed these in the past. This is the baby Triceratops, same coloration and everything as far as the one we had seen in the 93 Classic set. I think that one was with Ian Malcolm. And then you have that baby Raptor, which is the same color scheme and everything as far as I'm, remembering that was in the Alan Grant 93 Classic set. So we've gone over those already, but let's go ahead, get the Spino assembled and check it out. So here is our Spinosaurus now assembled and looking pretty darn awesome. And, sometimes I wonder when it comes to the Super Colossal stuff how the proportions and everything will look. And I think, honestly, it looks great on this figure. Like, the tail length doesn't seem too short. The feet are obviously much better as far as the size goes. I was a little concerned about the size of the sail, but even that I think looks pretty good. So they definitely did a great job, especially as far as the sculpt goes. Not so much when it comes to the paint, but the sculpt is honestly really, really well done. As far as a size goes, I guess we'll get a height first. So to the top of the sail, you are looking at around 16 inches or 41 centimeters. And then for a length, I don't know if I'll even be able to get it all the way in screen. Nope. It's just too darn big. For a length from the snout to the end of the tail, about 37 inches or 94 centimeters. So it is huge for a size comparison. There is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon in the Collect A Human Being, looking super tiny down there next to our absolutely gigantic Spinosaurus. Now, we are obviously all very well aware of the massive size of the Super Colossals, but here is a standard-sized Spinosaurus from Mattel, which is, again, very, very small next to the Super Colossal. Then we've got everyone's favorite Hammond Collection figure, as we have the Hammond Collection Spinosaurus next to the Super Colossal version. And again, obviously the Super Colossal is massive next to it. I am going to have to take the Spino outside into the wonderful fall foliage so that we can get a comparison with a Super Colossal figure. So let's go do that. So here is the Super Colossal Spinosaurus next to the newer Rebirth T-Rex. I apologize for the sound of leaves and all the leaves everywhere. Obviously it's fall, so they're going to be pretty much everywhere. But you can see they are pretty much the same size when it comes to the T-Rex and Spino. And then one more Super Colossal, just because I think people would like to see it. We have the Super Colossal Spino next to the Super Colossal Indominus Rex. And again, pretty much the same size, with the Indominus being slightly larger. Also, one thing we didn't really take a look at is the leg articulation. You can see that actually moves really nicely forward and back. We'll go ahead and smack the sign back there. Check out the other side. Yep, very nicely both sides. And then the tail goes up, down, left, right, swivels, all of the standard stuff that you usually get with the Super Colossals. So this brand new Mattel Jurassic World Super Colossal, or should I say Total Super Colossal, because that seems to be the name of the newer ones, is really nice as far as the Spinosaurus goes. I think they did a great job on the sculpt, and it's by far one of the nicest Spino sculpts that we've seen from Mattel, especially when it comes to something that isn't the Hammond collection. This is the best Spinosaurus from Mattel, if you ask me. The sculpt is absolutely incredible. It has very nice, very impressive fine detail, very vibrant fine detail from head to tail. The sculpt definitely replicates the JP3 Spino really nicely, and I can only imagine how beautiful the repaints are going to be for this one. I could potentially repaint it myself, but man, that would take a really long time to paint a Spinosaurus this big. But who knows, maybe at some point I'll probably grab another just by the off chance that I decide to do that. I'm actually really impressed with how nice and smooth the sail looks, considering that was, not connected when I got it. Once you pop that in there, it really meshes nicely with the rest of the figure and doesn't look out of place. There's no real ugly seams that are super visible or anything. The paintwork of the Spinosaurus is decent. Again, it kind of replicates the look of a JP3 Spino, but at the same time a little bit not. It's got a mixture of both, I guess. It does look a little bit naked once you move past the sail and down into the body again, outside of the painted claws on the toes. It's just really bare. There's not much going on, but it looks okay for what it is, and that's kind of the standard when it comes to Super Colossals from Mattel. It does feature some fairly fun articulation that works pretty smoothly. I'm a little baffled as to why the ankles only go one direction, but for the most part the articulation works, decently, pretty much as good as it normally does. And you, of course, have the ability to swallow some dinosaurs, and they do give you those two small figures, which I actually really like those two, because they have a strong Kenner feel and Kenner vibe to them, so definitely nice to see those in here as well. So if you are interested in this, I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase it right now on Walmart.com. So head on over there, grab it right now, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.